Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial today on this making of the corset with yoke, which we made last time, we drafted last time. Okay, so today's tutorial we are going to concentrate on the sewing of this corset. I believe you remember these patterns here. Okay, so I'm going to take away these patterns right away, and I'm going to show you how to construct our boning lines. Remember, we added 2.5 inches. All right, before we proceed, I want to use this opportunity to thank every one of you stopping by on this channel. Thank you for your subscriptions. I sincerely appreciate all of you. And if you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to keep receiving videos like this. We made the tutorial, the drafting of this corset with yoke in our last tutorial, and I promised I'll be showing you how to construct your boning lines and fix up your cups as well, and sew the entire corset. So like I told you, this corset is going to be a gown. Okay, all right, so if you remember in the last tutorial, I'll be dropping the link on how this corset is drafted on the description box. So now this is our original waistline at which we joined these two parts. Okay, we joined one and two together. Then because it's a gown and I need the extension to come down a little bit from the waistline, I took 2.5 inches at this point and connected it back to the waistline. So this is the original front length, okay, which we drafted in the last tutorial, and now we've extended it, as you can see. So what we are going to do now is to construct our boning lines. Okay, so to construct your boning lines, you can make as many boning lines as possible as you want, but make sure you'll be ready to work. So now the first boning line, I have it here. You can do whatever thing you want anyway, and I'll be having my second boning line. You can keep it anyway, you can keep it straight, you can slant it. Anything you want to do is your style and or your design. So for this particular corset today, I'm going to have straight boning lines. You can also keep it this way. Okay, let me keep it this way. I think it's looking more beautiful. All right, so you can see I've created my boning lines. Okay, I have 3 boning lines here. The first one will be at the center, the second and the third. Okay, so I'll be labeling it. This is F1, F2 and F3. Remember, there's no seam allowance added to it, so when we cut it off, we are going to add our seam allowances. So now remember, we are going to fuse these bodies to the skirt part. Okay, and I already have my drafted skirt. As you can see, it's going to be a mermaid skirt, which I've already drafted, and this is the front part of it. So I want you to see the line. I purposely left this waistline for you to see. So at this point, that is the waistline. Okay, so I'm going to place this corset. You can see this is the waistline for these two. At this point, okay, this is the original waistline before our extension. So if, assuming we are not extending, I could have just added my seam allowance here, add my seam allowance here, then I'll join these together. So since I'm cutting off, so I'm going to place this on the waistline. Can you see? I'm placing on the waistline of the skirt and on the waistline of the corset. So this is how I'll be placing it. All right, so I believe you know how to draft your skirt anyway. Okay, this is my hip line, this is my waistline. I have a waist of 32 inches because I have 32 inches, which is divided by 4 is 8 inches. And that is exactly what I used on my skirt. So you can see I have the same 8 inches. Then I have 1 inch for my dart. I replaced my 1 inch for my dart here. Can you see that? Now I took my dart of 5.5 inches, took 0.5, 0.5 this way, the normal way you construct your skirt. Okay, so the purpose of this tutorial is to fuse this to this and see how we cut it off. But now, before I do that, I need to cut off and close up this dart. Remember, I closed up this dart here. All right, I'm cutting off this dart right here, sorry, the waistline. I'm cutting off because I want to pretend closing up this dart, because I closed up the dart here also. So I'm going to close up this dart from this line. Now you can see I've closed up my 1-inch dart, okay, because I closed up this dart too. So I'm going to fix this waistline, okay, that is the true waistline or the front length. I'm going to match it up with this particular waistline. So I'm matching it up. I will ensure I have it exactly at that line. Can you see? Make sure you have it exactly at that line, so you can see that right now. Okay, so this is how this outfit is supposed to look at the end of the day. So but because we are going to stitch it, I'm going to cut off on the skirt part of it. That is how exactly it's going to look. So I'm cutting off on the skirt part of it, including the dart which I closed up. So you can see what I have now. So automatically this becomes my upper part of this corset, and this becomes the skirt part of it. So all I need to do right now is to add my seam allowances, add my 0.5 seam allowances, then I'll fuse it together. But remember that this is not going to be on cut on fold, but when cutting the skirt part of it, I'm putting a sign to show that I'll cut it on fold. Don't worry, when we'll start cutting, you will see what we are doing. Now that I've constructed my boning lines, I'm going to slice them. Okay, I have 3 of them here. Can you see that? So that's how it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm also going to do the same construction for my back. So this is my back right now. Like I said, you can do whatever design you want to do on these boning lines. So I need 3 boning lines. If you look at this, you can see I have the that, okay, position as one of my boning lines. Okay, so I have 1 boning line, so I'm going to construct the next boning line on this. So I'll be having 2 boning lines for the back. All right, so you can see this is actually what I want for the back. Okay, just 1 more boning line. So I'm going to cut it off right now. So this is actually what I wanted for the back. Okay, so this is the yoke and it's out. Now you can see I have 3 of them, and I'm going to label them B1, B2, B3. All right, so this is it for the back. Now we've done constructing the boning lines for both the front and the back. So this is what I have as my back piece of this skirt. Okay, so this is the back piece, and if you look at the back piece, you can see there is no it's not as deep as the front piece. Okay, it is still on the flat surface, so we are going to attach the back to this as you can see it. So this is all I have for my front and my back pattern. You can see my front pattern F1, F2, F3 with each boning line, and my back pattern B1, B2, B3 with each boning lines. So right now we are going to cut all of this. Remember, there's no seam allowance added to all of this, so we are going to add their seam allowances where necessary, and you will see it how it came out right now. Okay, now you can see I've added my seam allowances where necessary. You can see these are the backs. I labeled them B1, B2, B3, and this is the front F1, F2, F3. I place them where they are supposed to be, and I add the seam allowances. So you can see this is the center front. I have a seam allowance because I'm going to add my boning. Okay, so I'm going to stitch to add my boning. Then you can see I added 0.5. These ones are in between, so they have 0.5 inch. Then this is my 1 inch for my to add my side seams for the front, and I have my 1 inch here to add my side seam for the back also. Now you can see that I use this pattern to cut both the fabric and the lining. Can you see? I cut both the fabric and the lining with this same pattern, adding 0.5 inch all around. Now coming to the cups, you can see these were my cups 1 and 2. I added 0.5 inch all around this cup. I cut both the fabric and the lining and the wadding. Okay, I'm not using the bra cup for this, or the already made bra cup for this tutorial. I want to use my wadding for this tutorial. Okay, maybe in the next tutorial I'll show you how to fix your bra cup. All right, so now that I have this, I want to show you the yoke for the back and for the front. These are the yoke. Can you see? This is the back yoke and this is the front yoke. You can see this front yoke I cut on fold. Okay, it's supposed to be cut on fold. Please don't forget, because you're going to open it up, it's going to be at the center, so there's no seam allowance here. It's cut on fold. Then I added 0.5 seam allowances, as you can see, all around here. Then for the back yoke, I did not add any seam allowance. Remember, we have 1 inch seam allowance already for the zipper, or for, I'm going to make use of a loop. Okay, that is buttons with loops, so that is it, and you have 0.5 seam allowance. Then for the skirt pattern, like I said, this tutorial is not for skirt, but I still want to show you the skirt pattern. This is the skirt pattern for the front. I cut, adding my 0.5 inch. You can see this is cut on fold because it's the front part of it. Then I have my 1 inch seam allowances all through. You can see that. Okay, then for the back, I also have my seam allowances at the appropriate position. Remember that that was closed and it will remain closed. 0.5, 1 inch. You can see that all around. So I cut both the fabric and the lining together with this pattern. You can see that. So let us now jump into this tutorial proper. What am I going to do right now? The very first step I'm going to take now is to join F1 and F2 together. First of all, I'm going to join, you know, I have this on both sides. This is the right side and I will have it on the left side. So I have 2 of it. I forgot to mention to you, these fabrics are 2, that is fabric 2, lining 2. So for this I have 4 pieces. I have 4 pieces for all of the things you see me cut here. Okay, because I'll have it on the left, on the right, and on the left. So the first step I'm taking right now is I'm going to join my center back. Remember, there's no there is seam allowance, is not on fold. I'll pick up this and join to this, pick up this and join to this. I'll do the same here, but this is my zip allowance. So this is very important, the notches. Please don't forget the notches. You can see as I have all these lines, I'm going to notch all of them apart from the side seam. Okay, so first I'm going to pick up my F1. You can see that is my chest line. I'll put a notch to it. I'll go over to my bust point. I'll put a notch to it. Okay, I will do the same here because I'm going to join anyone that I'm going to join. Just a little notch, please don't go too deep. Okay, so I have all my notches. This will help you, you know, get an accurate joining, okay, without missing up. All right, so I'm going to notch all of these lines for all of them. Okay, then I'll start joining them and bring it for you to see. So you can see I've done joining it. You might be wondering why I join, instead of joining to the back, I now join to the front. It's because I'm going to attach my boning here. Okay, so you are going to see the method we are going to use to attach our bonings. Okay, so you are going to join for the fabric. You are going to join the outer part of it. You can see my joining at 0.5 inch. Okay, then my lining, this is my lining. I also joined my line, but this time the front part of it is what I joined the normal way we join, and I ironed it down. Can you see? Now there's something I forgot to mention to you. Before cutting your pattern, okay, those patterns I showed you earlier before I went to my machine to join, I estayed the fabric and the lining first. Please take note. Sometimes if you don't estay the lining before cutting out your pattern, some fabrics can misbehave. You see some of them, they will be longer at the end of the day. Maybe if you cut the pattern first and then you go to estay, you see that some linings or some fabrics will just be longer after estaying it while cutting the pattern. But if you estay and cut your pattern, I usually like using that method because it makes me have my pattern exactly the way I want it. So please estay, take note, estay your fabric before you cut out your pattern. So that was what I did before I showed you the pattern, but I forgot to mention it, so that's why I'm telling you now. So now you can see I'm done joining my lining, and I'm done joining my fabric. So now what am I going to do? I need to attach my boning lines. So for the attachment of this boning, I'm using a regling boning. Okay, this is how it comes. Sometimes it comes in packet. You can also purchase in yards. Okay, so this is about 10 yards I have here. So this is how the regling boning is. We have other types of boning anyway, but for this tutorial I'm using a regling boning because I enjoy using a regling boning. I can sew on top of this boning. So you are going to see how we are going to sew on top of this boning right now on our machine. Okay, maybe subsequently, as we are having our tutorials, we'll be making use of plastic bonings and other kind of bonings. Okay, so for this tutorial we are using the regling boning today. So now for me to start up boning, I need to trim off. You see these seam allowances, I'm going to reduce these 0.5 seam allowances. So I'm going to reduce it because I'm attaching my boning. So while reducing it, please be careful. Don't reduce and cut off your stitching line. Okay, so you have to be very, 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 very careful. I'm using this boning line to show you how to fix them. Okay, so I want you to pay close attention. I'm using this center boning to show you how I'm going to fix all my bonings. I'll demonstrate it using this, then I will do the rest and bring it for you to show, for you to see, sorry. So now I've reduced it. You can see what I have, very, very little, stitches right now. The 0.5 has been properly reduced because I want to place my boning. Now the first thing I have to do is to take the measurement of where I'm placing my boning. So I have my tape here, and you can see I'm taking my measurement from the beginning to the end where I have my boning. You can see I have 11.5 inches here. So this 11.5 inches, I cut a strip of fabric because this is the fabric I'm going to fold my boning on. So you can see the strip of fabric, I cut exactly 11.5 inches. Can you see that? So this 11.5 inches, this is the length because I'm going to place it this way. Now the length, you'll be asking, what about the width? The measurement of this width is usually 1.5 inches. Please, 1.5 inches, because this regling boning comes on a regular width. Okay, it has a regular width. So whenever you want to make use of it and you want to use this method of attaching our boning, make sure the width is 1.5 inches. So now I have 11.5. because I'm going to attach this, I'll put my boning and attach here. My boning is not going to be 11.5 inches. Please take note. I'm not placing a boning of 11.5 because I have 0.5 inch here to stitch this to the skirt and 0.5 to stitch to the yoke. So if you have your boning at 11.5, it will be very difficult for you to stitch this. So I'm going to measure, take away 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch on top for my stitching. Did you understand that? I'm taking away 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch is what? 1 inch. So this 1 inch, now I'm going to take away 11.5 inch. 11.5 inch minus 1/2 inch, that's minus 1 inch. So 11.5 minus 1 will give us 10.5. So I'm going to measure 10.5. I'm taking the measurement of 10.5. You can see where I have my 10.5. So I'm going to cut off my boning at 10.5. All right, so you can see this is my boning right now. This is my boning of 10.5. So how am I going to treat this boning to avoid poking? Okay, you know, if you just put it this way, you see the sharp points, it will poke and poke out of the fabric, and it might even wound the person wearing the outfit. So I'm going to trim off. Can you see how I'm treating the edges? There are so many ways you can treat this edge. Some people use lighter to burn it. Some people use nail file. You can use nail file to trim up this edge, but because it's not a very, dangerous boning, I usually use my scissors. You can see how I'm doing that. I'll just cut off the sharp edge and make it like a U, okay, just like a U. You can see what I'm doing. I'm zooming my camera for you to see how it's coming out. So you can see how it has come out right now. So now it's time for us to place this raglan boning inside the piece of fabric so as to fold it. So now how are we going to do it? I have the front side and the rough side. So you have to identify which side is my wrong side and which side is my, you can see the shiny part, that's my right side for this fabric. I'm using the shiny part of it for this illustration. So now this is my raglan, this is my fabric for my raglan. You can see how this raglan is bending. Can you see? So it's bending towards the direction as if, you see how it is. Okay, so I'm going to place it this way, and I'm placing it leaving 0.5 inch. Please take notes. Can you see? And it will end at 0.5. Can you see the 0.5 distances? All right, so now if you look at this place very well, you can see I placed it at 1/4 of an inch. See how I placed it? You can see I left 1/4 of an inch before I placed that. Okay, so I'll go right with my machine right now, and I'm going to sew. Look at where I'm going to sew. Let me show you. Can you see where I'm sewing? Let me zoom my camera for you to see where I will sew. I believe you see where I'm going to sew. I'm not sewing at the center, I'm sewing right at the edge. You will see the provision that is made for sewing right at the edge. You can see that I'm sewing right at the edge. So I'll go to my machine right now and I'm going to sew right at the edge. Okay, so I'm sewing on an industrial machine because some small machines might not sew them unless you change your needle. We have different sizes of needle. We have 16, 14, 18, 20. So you can go for a thicker needle. If you try a lesser needle, if you have a smaller machine, assuming you don't have an industrial machine, then you can change your needles to higher needles and test if it will sew. But if you have an industrial machine, you don't have problem. So I'm going to sew on top of this raglan boning on my industrial machine. So let's do that for you to see. All right, so now we are on our machine right now, and we are going to sew right now. You are going to sew gently. Don't rush it, please. At this point, we sew very gently. All right, so now you can see what I have now. I'm done sewing it now. So look at what I'm going to do now that I've finished sewing my raglan boning on this piece of fabric. I'm going to turn this way. Watch how I'm turning. Can you see how I'm turning? Can you see? I'm doing this slowly so as not to confuse you. Okay, so now that I've turned it, I'll keep turning it till it covers my boning. Can you see? Okay, so now I'll keep turning it. Just see what I'm doing. I'm keep turning. You see, I now have part of this boning. So I'm going to fold this part now. Okay, I'm doing this very slowly for you to see. So I'm going to fold this part. You can see how I fold in like 1/4 of an inch or up to 0.5 inch. You see, I finally achieved what I want. So I'll go to my machine right now and I'm going to sew on this part. Right now, I've kept it in the position how I want it to be, and I keep folding this in. Okay, you can see how I'm folding it, making sure I have this piece. I'm making sure I have this piece below, and I placed it exactly at the center where I want to stitch. You can see, so as I'm going, you'll be sewing slowly. That is what I will do till I get to the end of this place. All right, so I'll keep doing this way. I'll be sewing slowly and I'll be adjusting to have my boning in the position I want. I'll be sewing at the edge. Can you see that? I will do this to the end of this place. So I'm done sewing on one side of it now. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm going to come over to this part. I'm going to sew right from the beginning now. I will sew all the way down. All right, beautiful people, you can see I've sewn the other part of it. So I have sewn the two sides of it, as you can see right now. I did this down to the end of it. So I'm going to, since I've demonstrated to you how to sew in your boning, your raglan boning using your piece of fabric, now I'm going to repeat this process all through the remaining boning lines. I have 4 more remaining boning lines in the front, and I have 4 boning lines at the back. So I have 8 boning lines to sew using the process I showed you. Please follow these processes and make sure you get a perfect boning to your corset. Now I'm done stitching all my boning lines. You can see them. But did you notice something here? You can see that it took exactly the shape of the bones. Okay, you see how curvy is looking. So it's not going to be like this. I'm going right to my ironing machine with my steam ironing table, with my steam iron right now. I'm going to iron it flat. Okay, please don't leave it like this. Give it a very good press so that it will relax. So now on my ironing table, you can see how the shape is. Okay, so I'm ironing this way. Okay, can you see how I'm ironing? Okay, that's how I'm going to iron it. Please don't keep it this way. Let it be like this, okay, so that it will press it down, okay, with your steam iron. So you can see right now I have given it a good press. This is the front. You can see how flat it is right now. Then this is the back. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do right now is to work on our cups. Okay, you can see the cups. Like I told you before, I have the fabric, I have the lining, and I have the wadding. I'm making use of the wadding today for this tutorial. So the first thing we are going to do, you can see the seam allowances are there, 0.5, 0.5 all through. Please don't forget. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to notch. Make sure you have your notches. in all apart from the wording. Okay, you notch everything because you need to place it at the appropriate position. Like I said, make sure your notches are not too deep to cut through your fabric. So you can see I have my notches all through the cups. So these notches are going to actually help me, okay, while I'm sewing. On my ironing table right now, you can see I have my cups. I picked up my fabric and I placed it on top of my wording. Can you see? And the sticky part of it, that is where you are seeing here. That is what you are seeing. The sticky part is, I'm going to gum it right away. The same thing with cup number 2. So now I'm going to take away my patterns. Okay, but make sure you don't burn your fabric, and you also make sure it sticks very well. I'm done sticking my wording to the fabric. Okay, this is the right and this is the left, and I have my notches. So now remember that I gave 0.5 inch all through, but because I'm going to sew this side to the yoke, I'm going to cut it off by 0.5 inch. So I'm going to take it up right now, and I'm going to measure 0.5 inch, because I will not want to sew my yoke on the wording. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to cut off 0.5. You can see I have a space to sew my yoke. So I will do this to all of these. Okay, now I'm going to join them together in line with my notches. I'm going to hold them and join them together. Now coming over to the yoke, I'm going to sew my yoke as well. Okay, so this is the front yoke. So I'm going to loosen up the pattern. Looking at the yoke, it depends on how you want. Like this yoke, I have two in one. Some people might want to, place only one yoke. So it depends on what you want. Okay, but you need to, for this, because we are going to stitch on the yoke right now. So I'm going to stitch all around the yoke, then I'll turn it over and bring it for you to see. So I will still do the same thing, take out my pattern and place it and stitch it. Now you can see this is my yoke, and I'm done fixing my pins all around it. So I'm going to sew 0.5 inch all around. Okay, then I'll turn it for you to see and give it a good press. Then look at my cup. You can see I also held my pin on my cups, and I sewed my cups. So this is what I did in all of them. This is the lining part of it, of the cup. You can see the pins are there also. I sewed on top of the pins to get it accurately. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to notch. Okay, I'm going to notch. That's what I will do right now. Then after notching, I'm going to iron, give it a good press. Now on my ironing table, you can see my cup. I turned it this other way and I place it on this ball to give it a good shape. Okay, and I will iron the cup right now. Using the ball, I'm going to iron. Okay, you can see how I placed it and open it. Okay, so I'm going to use my iron and press it down. I also turned it this other way. You can see. Make sure on my ball that I have it well ironed. So these are my cups after ironing right now. You can see my notches. I still have the notches on the cup. Okay, so coming over to the fixing of this, you can also see I have my notches. Let me zoom my camera. Can you see I notched it? Okay, so these notches you are seeing, I'm going to match up this notch for the cup and the notch for the bodies. I will do the same this way, matching up the notches together and pin them. So you can see the cup. I've fixed the cup right now. You can see how I use my pin. I held it on the notch first. I matched the two notches right and left of each cup, Then I now aligned it with my pin. So I'm going to my machine right now and I'm going to sew at 0.5 inch. Alright, so you can see I've sewn my cup. Okay, I've sewn it all around and is now fixed on the bodies. So I'm going to place my notches, okay, all over here because I need to open up and iron. Okay, so I'm going to iron it the same way I ironed it. I'm done stitching my yoke right now. You can see the 0.5 inch seam allowance, but I'm going to trim it off. Okay, I'm going to, you see how I'll reduce it so that when I turn it I'll have a perfect neckline. Then looking at the back, you can see I've already fixed my loops. Okay, I'm also going to trim off this 0.5. So like I said, this tutorial is not for loops, to show you how to sew loops. You can also fix your zipper, okay, to the end of, from the bodice to the end of your yoke. Now I'm done trimming it off. As you can see, I reduced it to the barest minimum, but while reducing it, please be sure you don't cut off your stitches. I just want to show you the finished product, turning it and giving it a good press. You can see what I have for my yoke right now. So it's time to start fixing our yoke to the corset. Okay, so you can see this is the yoke and this is my already sewn corset. So I'm going to attach this yoke right now. So I'm going to flip it. Can you see how I flipped it? So I'll make sure I have this pin at this point. I'll pin it and take it all over this way. Okay. Alright, so before pinning it together, remember we have our lining. Okay, we have exactly the same pattern of lining with the way the main fabric is sewn. So now I'm going to turn to the back and find the center of the lining, and I'm going to fix the yoke. The yoke is going to be in between while you have the lining on top of it. Can you see? Then I will keep arranging it. Okay, I will hold with my pin. Then I'll keep arranging my yoke. As I'm arranging my yoke and placing my lining, I'll keep doing this till I pin all of them. Then I'll stitch it on my. Now you can see my pins right now holding my yoke. Can you see that? My yoke is right in between the lining and the fabric. Can you see? My yoke is in between. Okay, this is the fabric and this is the lining. So I'm going to my machine right now and I'm going to stitch at 0.5 inch all through. Then I'll turn it. You can see right now I've fixed my yoke to my corset. Okay, so I'm going to stitch the back part of this corset and attach. So in the attachment of this corset, the yoke to your corset, please make sure you trim off your wadding. Okay, very, very important. You can trim off like 0.5 or even 1 inch of your wadding from the already cut wadding. On top, trim it off for 1 inch so that you don't need to sew on the wadding. Please, this is very important because you need your yoke to turn to be stitched well, not on the wadding but on the fabric and the lining. Then after doing that, you make sure you top stitch. Okay, make sure you top stitch to allow your lining lay very well. So let us go to the back pattern. You can see this is my back pattern right now, but before we place our pattern, we are going to, before we place the yoke, okay, you know it's going to have a zipper here, so we are going to make provision for our zipper here right now. So this is the yoke for the back and the back bodies right now. So remember there is going to be a zipper. You can see my crease line here. So I'm going to attach my zip here. But before I do that, I'll need to stitch this yoke. Okay, so I also flip it the same way. and you make sure that at this point you are going to sew this point matching up with here. Remember, we are going to have a zipper, so but you will be leaving 1 inch space here. Okay, we'll sew from here to this point, then we'll leave 1 inch space for our zipper. Okay, later we'll come up and finish it up. So remember, the yoke is always kept in between the fabric and the lining. So I have my lining matching up right now, so I'll place my lining this way. I'll give, you know, I have 1 inch seam allowance already. In fact, I'm going to sew after 2 inches because of the space. We need to leave a space here for our zipper. Then after fixing the zip, then we are going to stitch it up completely, and now turn it and top stitch. All right, so I'm done fixing my yoke to my back piece. Okay, so now it's time to place the two together and stitch on the seam line. So you can see I'm going to pick up this and match it up with this. Okay, so having done that, I'll lift one of it. Can you see what I'm doing? Lift it up, take it back, then I'll go to my machine and stitch it up and turn the front yoke and the back yoke together. You can see my 0.5 seam allowance. So but I'm going to trim it up. Okay, I'm going to open it up and reduce the seam. All right, so that just as I reduce in this one, so it will look nice. All right, so we are gradually coming to the end of this corset with yoke. You can see the corset is attached, the yoke is attached to the corsets for the back and for the front bodies. Okay, so now I've matched them together, my front and my back. So I'm going to take my measurement of my bust again and again my waist, then I stitch them together. Okay, attach my sleeves and again my mermaid down skirt parts, which I showed you earlier when we started this tutorial. So then I'll bring the finished out look so that you see how it came out. So before attaching my sleeve and the skirt to these upper bodies of the corset, I want you to take note that the back was top stitched. Can you see? I top stitched it and I left 2 inches. 1 inch is to fix my zipper and the other 1 inch is the allowance, okay, where I'll fix my zipper. You know, I'll start fixing my zipper, so I need a space and allowance for it so I can easily fix it. Then at the end of the day, I'll run my top stitch to this point. Okay, please take note of that. Now I'm going to fix my sleeve, then add the down part of this, then bring the finished part of this project so that you see how beautiful it came out. Corset can actually be very beautiful. You can see the outcome of our corset. You can see the bonnet and the mesh so beautifully made. The wrapper illusion, very beautiful. So thank you very much for watching. If you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell, like this video, share to family and friends, drop your comments on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye and see you in